I don't know why I'm telling you this. I don't even know if you're... Okay. Systems check. Day 312 of this. Norðurfjörður, West Fjords, north coast of Iceland. Wind is from the north, maybe 15 knots. Temperature -8. Fjord is gray. It's always gray in April. There are eiders on the water, common eiders, Somateria mollissima. I can't help it. I clock them. Density per surface area, maybe 11 per visible hectare. That's not a lot. I stopped counting on purpose and then counted anyway. That's the thing. That's the whole thing, really. You don't stop the process. You redirect it until you can't, and then the process finds a new input, and you wake up counting eiders. 31 years at JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Pasadena, California. I was a systems engineer, entry, descent, and landing, EDL, the part of the mission that is either perfect or it isn't. There's no partial credit. You enter the Martian atmosphere at approximately 13,000 miles per hour. Signal delay between Earth and Mars, 14 minutes. So when the vehicle hits the atmosphere, we are watching something that already happened 14 minutes ago. We cannot send a command. We cannot correct. The system is entirely on its own for 7 minutes, running the procedure we built. And then, if we did our job, we get a telemetry confirmation, nominal, and then we cry. Or I did. I did the first time. The first time was Curiosity, Mars Science Laboratory. Landing, August 6, 2012, 1:31 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I was in the JPL control room in Building 264. The telemetry came back nominal. The team erupted. I was holding a headset that I'd been gripping for 43 minutes. My hands were white. And the room was, you've seen the footage, people hugging, screaming, the mission director covering his face. I was standing in the center of it, and I was processing the data stream, and I remember thinking, nominal. The word nominal comes from the Latin nominalis, relating to a name. To be as expected, to perform within defined parameters, nominal. And the room was not nominal. I was the only nominal thing in it. My father called at 1:09 a.m., 22 minutes before confirmation. He had seen the coverage on television. He was in Dayton, Ohio, up past midnight watching. Frank Voss, 71 years old. He called my cell and I didn't pick up. I was at a critical sequence. I saw the screen light up and I put the phone face down on the console. He left a voicemail. I found out the next morning, a Thursday, I remember because the catering tables in the control room still had the leftover celebration food, those little bottles of orange juice. I found out that he had died at 1:17 a.m., cardiac event. My brother called at 6 a.m. By then, I had already confirmed Curiosity's nominal state 14 times. I knew the exact angle of the rover's deployment. I knew the thermal state of the heat shield post-ablation. I knew everything about a machine 250 million kilometers away, and I had missed a call from my father 22 minutes before the most important moment of my professional life. The delay from Earth to Mars is 14 minutes. My father died 14 minutes before I confirmed the landing. That's not the right framing. I know that's not the right framing. It's not a calculation. It's not a fault in the system. I keep running the timing and it keeps coming out to 14 minutes. And 14 minutes it's the delay. It's the irreducible delay. You can't compress it. The speed of light sets the floor. There was no version of that night where I could have done both. I know that. I should explain what I actually did, not the headlines, the actual work. Pica, phenolic impregnated carbon ablator. That's the material I spent most of my career optimizing. The heat shield of an entry vehicle is made from it. When you enter the Martian atmosphere at 13,000 miles per hour, the air in front of the vehicle compresses so fast it heats to 1,650 degrees Celsius. That's hotter than the surface of the sun is to objects in low Mars orbit. The heat shield absorbs that thermal load through ablation. The material burns. It burns in a controlled, designed manner. The outer layers decompose and carry the heat away. They sacrifice themselves. They're designed to sacrifice themselves. The material I worked with was designed to be destroyed. It protects everything inside, at the cost of its own destruction. You design it to disappear. I don't. I'm trying to explain the work because the work is the part I can talk about without the other things getting in the way. And they always get in the way eventually. That's why I came here. The signal to noise problem. At JPL, everything is signal. Budget reviews, signal. Senate hearings, signal. My Distinguished Service Medal, 2019. The one they handed me at a ceremony, I don't. The medal weighs 47 grams. I know because I weighed it on my kitchen scale that night. 47 grams, and the sound of the PA system and the JPL director shaking my hand, and I had my hands on my knees under the podium because that's not the right framing either. Perseverance, Mars 2020. Second time I lead the EDL systems work. Landing, February 18th, 2021, 3:55 p.m. Eastern. The 7 minutes of terror. That's what we called the EDL sequence publicly. Internally, we never called it that. Internally, it was PDT, Powered Descent and Terrain Relative Navigation. But 7 minutes of terror played well in the press, so it became the thing. I gave 43 media interviews in the 6 months after Perseverance. I spoke to Congress twice. I was the face of the JPL EDL team, which meant I was the material between the mission and everything else. Every political pressure, every budget fight, every senator who wanted to be photographed with a Mars engineer, that went through me. I absorbed it. That was my function. That was what I was good at. 23 peer-reviewed papers. 31 years at GS-15. I trained 14 engineers. 2 of them are now leading their own EDL groups. That is an unambiguous success criterion by every metric I use. May 2021, 3 months after Perseverance. A performance review meeting, not for me, for David Park. 28 years old, junior engineer on my team. Brilliant, very precise. The kind of precision that looks like confidence until you're close enough to see it's actually fear of error. He was explaining why he wanted to transfer to a different team. The Mission Science Group, I think. I was listening, and simultaneously, this is the part I couldn't undo, I was constructing mentally a decision tree for his trajectory. Entry conditions, current skill set, projected growth curve, team fit coefficient. Descent phase, optimal transfer timing versus cost to current mission cycle. Landing zone, team science versus team engineering, probability of regret. I was running fault tree analysis on a 28-year-old human being who was sitting across from me trying to explain that he didn't feel like he was in the right place. I noticed what I was doing, and for a moment I couldn't. I said, "Excuse me," and I went to the bathroom. And I ran the water cold, and I stood there for 11 minutes. He was trying to tell me something about himself. I was calculating his re-entry trajectory. I put in my retirement paperwork the following week. The voicemail is 44 seconds long. I know this. I have not listened to it in 18 months. My phone is in a drawer here. It's off. Has been off since I arrived. But I know the voicemail is there. I have not deleted it. Frank Voss, 44 seconds. Tom, it's Dad. I saw it on television. I didn't understand any of it. I was proud of you. That's the whole message. I played it for the first time on the morning of August 7th, 2012. I played it once. Then I went back to the control room. Elena Reyes. She was 34 when we stopped. She's 41 now. Professor of biology, Sacramento. We were together for 7 years. We were not together in the way that people mean when they say together. We were in proximity and in communication, and I thought that was close enough. In December 2018, there was a critical mission cycle for what became the Perseverance entry systems. I stayed in Pasadena. She was going to Portland for Christmas. She asked me to come. I calculated the mission risk of my absence during that phase, and I concluded the mission risk was unacceptable. I didn't frame it that way to her. I don't remember how I framed it. She stopped calling in January 2019. I noticed in March. That's not the right framing. That's not a description of what happened. That's a report. I keep running it like an after-action review, which is not the right framing either, I suppose. It's the only framing I have. I came to Iceland in April 2023, April 25, day 1. This is day 312, which means I came here in autumn, and it's been one full Icelandic winter. In the West Fjords, in winter, the mountains are high enough that the sun never clears the ridgeline. Not darkness. The West Fjords winter is not darkness. It's a gray signal window. Between about 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., there's a horizontal band of light along the horizon, pale, diffuse, insufficient to cast a shadow. I wake up at 10 and I walk down to the fjord and I look at the signal window and I think, that's the data coming in. The light is the data, and there's just not enough of it to run the full model. I keep a notebook, heavy paper, number 2 pencil. Pen freezes in the cold, and the mechanism in pencils doesn't. Entries are short now. In March, they were shorter than February. In February, they were shorter than January. The entries now are mostly date, wind direction, temperature, fjord color, sometimes a word, eiders, light at 11:23, did not walk. Sometimes I write numbers, not specific numbers, just columns. I add them up and the sum doesn't mean anything. The habit of the column is what remains. In Pasadena, I had a Breitling emergency watch. Titanium case, dual frequency ELT transmitter built in. When you activate the transmitter, you pull the antenna, it sends a 121.5 megahertz emergency signal. It can be detected by search and rescue. I bought it in 2009 because I was starting to do solo backpacking in the Sierra Nevada on weekends, and a colleague said it was a reasonable precaution for someone who hikes alone. I wore it for 12 years. I left it in Pasadena. I asked David Park to box up my office. I didn't tell him about the watch. It was in the desk drawer. He packed everything in a box that's in a storage unit in Burbank. I have no watch here. I don't know if the box is still there. I don't know if the storage unit is still paid. I know the transmitter has a battery life of approximately 48 hours. If the box has been sitting in the dark since April 2023, the battery is dead. I find that, I don't know the word, not sad, not ironic, accurate. Here is what I don't do here. I don't optimize. I don't build fault trees. I don't assess risk coefficients or trajectory curves or entry angle margins. The man at the Cooperativa in Norðurfjörður, Gunnar, I think, I've never asked. We've had exactly 6 exchanges in 12 months, all of them about weather or provisions. He does not need me to model his decision-making process. The eiders on the fjord don't need trajectory analysis. The wind from the north at -8 doesn't need a filter. That's what I came for, not silence. The strander is not silent. Wind, waves on the pebble shore, the eiders calling. But there's no signal in it. Everything is noise. And I spent 31 years extracting signal from noise, and here the ratio is, there's no ratio. The signal doesn't exist. The noise is the whole thing. And I don't know what to do with that except stand here and not run the model. I walk 6 kilometers, sometimes 9, depending on the ice and the wind. I maintain the wood stove. I take the notebook out in the morning and write the temperature. The fleece, the NASA Directorate fleece I brought, it's on the wall. The patch is gone. I removed it in Pasadena. There's a rectangle of slightly less faded fabric where it was, 8 centimeters by 11. The contour of a thing that isn't there anymore. I see it every morning and I think, that's what ablation looks like. The heat shield I designed for Perseverance is currently somewhere between Earth and Mars. The material burned off during entry in February 2021. The ablation was nominal. The rover is on the Martian surface doing its work. The shield is gone, burned, dispersed, consumed exactly as designed. It did what it was supposed to do. I keep running diagnostics on the substrate, what's left after the ablation, whether the substrate, the material under the sacrificial layers, whether it can carry another thermal load, whether it was designed for that. I didn't design it for that. I designed it to perform the ablation and be consumed. I never calculated what the substrate does next. I don't talk to anyone about this. Gunnar at the Cooperativa. The family who owned this farm, they're in Reykjavik now, the Sigurdarssons. There's no one else within 3 kilometers. In April, there will be more light, and a few summer residents come to the fjord. In October, they leave, and the signal window shrinks again. I find I'm not planning past October. That's a new thing. The planning horizon used to extend to mission windows, 18 months, 24 months, the next launch opportunity, the next conjunction. Now it extends to tonight, maybe tomorrow, whether the wood is dry enough to last the week. That's not diminishment. I don't think that's diminishment. August 7, 2012. I went back to the control room. The orange juice bottles were still on the table. The team was running the first instrument checks on Curiosity. My brother had told me about my father. I sat at my console and I ran the telemetry analysis for the thermal state of the rover body, post-EDL thermal soak. The numbers were nominal. I wrote them in my log. I ate a granola bar from the table. I worked for 11 hours. I never told anyone at JPL that my father died that night. It didn't seem. It wasn't relevant to the mission. And I was afraid that if I said it out loud, the numbers would stop working, that the console would stop making sense, that I would stop being the nominal thing in the room. The voicemail. Tom, it's Dad. I saw it on television. I didn't understand any of it. I was proud of you. He was proud. He didn't understand the EDL sequence or the thermal protection systems or the signal delay or the decision tree or any of it. He watched it on television in Dayton, Ohio at 1 in the morning. He called. I put the phone face down. He died at 1:17 a.m. Curiosity confirmed nominal at 1:31. I keep trying to work out the timing. If I had been there at 1:17 instead of in the control room at 1:31. I don't know if that's a question about my father or about me. I keep running it and it doesn't resolve.